You all here, and I'm sure you will enjoy the carols. And it was so lovely of them to come, and now we hope they're safely on their way home. If any of you wish to leave for a few moments now, please do so. I would ask my chaplain to open the meeting with a prayer.
As we meet this evening, we can give thanks for all the benefits that we share and the opportunities that we've been given to serve in our respective capacities within our borough and to each other. May we not take these for granted, these privileges that we've been given, even though we may hold differing views. May they be expressed for the unity and the well-being of us all. But as we come today, we recognise the divisions within our own society as we approach the forthcoming general election. We pray that unity will be restored, being mindful of those words of St. Paul, that we should pray for all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. May we have apologies for absence, please?
Apologies from Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beardsall, Councillor Butler, Councillor Inglis, Councillor Murray and Councillor Cotty.
Thank you very much. May I ask if anyone has to declare an interest? No one. May we approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of this council which we held on the 19th of September this year, followed by another one on the 8th of October.
I'd like to move those minutes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder?
And I would like to second those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mason. All in favour, would you show? Yes. Is that you? Yes. That's lovely, thank you. Where are we? So, and then I'll do the other one afterwards. Okay. I'll do the other one afterwards. Do something else. I don't have any announcements other to wish you all a very, very happy Christmas and New Year, and invite you to the Mayor's Parlour, my room at the end there, to have something to eat and drink at the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. May I ask if you have any announcements you would like to make, Leader?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just three very quick announcements. First of all, just to acknowledge 2 weeks ago we had the Community Awards, and I know a number of members were there, and officers, and indeed the Mayor, and it's fantastic. We had over 170 nominations for those awards, which was an incredible achievement, and it reflected everyone from individuals to businesses to teams to organisations, and I think it really, really brought out the very best of Rushcliffe, and I was very, very proud to see such a wonderful night, and a big compliment to officers in terms of their organisation. Secondly, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to congratulate officers and acknowledge their work. The recent floods have been incredibly disruptive and unfortunate and dreadful for a lot of individuals within this borough. And I know officers responded really well. We put a number of people in accommodation because it came on so quickly, so devastating, and my heart goes out to those people who did suffer. But I would like to acknowledge Mrs. Marry, if you could pass on our thanks to the officers who were there and responded once again under a crisis very, very well. Lastly, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge the tree scheme. I was a beneficiary myself on Sunday and queued in the very cold weather to receive 2 trees. I was laughed at by 1 or 2 of our officers, but they were fantastic. And again, what a fantastic scheme. Thousands of people, I think, through locations picked those trees up. They've all gone in the ground now, and they're going to make a difference.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and so I think, again, it's been a fantastic credit to this authority with such a scheme like that. Thank you.
That's lovely. Such good news. Thank you very much. Now the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, as a follow-up to the presentation that we had after the last council meeting, I've arranged a presentation for all councillors to take place in January on the work of the Development Corporation, and this will take place before January Cabinet meeting, so it'll be 5:45 till 6:45 before the January Cabinet meeting, and Anthony May, who's the Chief Exec of the County Council and the Senior Responsible Officer for the Development Corporation work, will come to speak to you and take questions on the work of the Development Corporation. So I hope that those of you who are interested will be able to attend that session. Secondly, we are going to trial this evening a queuing system on the microphones. So you have got some instructions in front of you. It's a new system, and what you'll need to do when we get to the point in the meeting is you'll also find on your desk a login card with your photo on it. And what you do is you log into your microphone by touching your card to the left-hand side of the microphone, and that will register your name on your microphone. It's not switched on yet. It's not activated yet. Okay, so for each agenda item, should you wish to speak, you then press the button on the right as usual and you will go into a queue. When it's your turn to speak, your microphone will turn red. When you're next in the queue, it will flash green to give you a little warning that you're up next. Okay. We will follow the usual convention, so the presenter of the item will present the item, seconder, and then we go to the opposition group leaders first of all, and then it's whoever presses the button is in the queue. If you change your mind and decide you no longer wish to speak, just press your button again and it will switch you off. Madam Mayor will be able to speak at any point in the proceedings. So to ask to tell you that your time's up or whatever, she will be able to override the system. And if we have any issues and it doesn't work, then we'll revert to the traditional putting your hand up if you wish to speak. Now, if anyone wants to raise a point of order and they're not in the queuing system, please raise your hand and we will take points of order in that way. Okay, so we'll give it a go. And in the spirit of goodwill, I hope you will enjoy taking part. And if it doesn't work to plan, then we will go back to the traditional method. Okay? Thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to this. Right, now we come to citizens' questions, item 7. I understand that a question has been received from Mr. Steve Cook. If you would like to.
Good evening, everybody,
Good evening.
and thanks very much for allowing us to ask a question. The question's actually regarding the recent consultation survey on Luttrell Hall in the future. Now that's now been completed, so I was wondering whether the leader of the council can inform residents how the qualitative data, that's the helpful part of the questionnaire that allowed us to give additional comments, how that data will be analysed and how it will feed into any recommendations, decisions that will be made in the future on the future of Luttrell Hall.
Right. Councillor Everdeen, would you like to respond to the question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can tell Mr Cook that the qualitative data will be analysed in line with best practice by the officers, and the results will be included in a report to the Cabinet in the new year when the Cabinet takes any decisions on Lutterell Hall. Thank you.
Is he allowed another question?
Is it possible to ask a supplementary question?
I understand not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. We now come to item 8, Public Spaces Protection Order Review. Councillor Mason, would you like to address us, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm sure we'll get used to the system, if not tonight, at a later date. We're looking this evening at the Public Spaces Protection Order Review, and there's been a review. I think I was the Cabinet member at the time, 3 years ago, when it was actually brought in, and I was very pleased to support it then, as I am now. The review has been on whether to extend them for a further 3 years, and this is in legislation that we have to do this, and that is why we are all here to do it, to look at it again, and as I say, I think and I believe that it has worked well. The orders are flexible and enforcement tools, so that they are designed to control individuals or groups from any antisocial behaviour on reasonable grounds. Consultation happened in August and September, which was very broadly supportive of it. Certainly when we spoke, and it is in here, when we spoke to police, when we spoke to Framework, when we spoke to all the other partners and consultees who have been dealing with this over the 3 years, they too have been very supportive of it. As a council, we have always recognised that there are rough or outdoor sleepers and that they need support, not always enforcement. So we, the council, work with these partners that we have consulted to ensure that they're able to get the support that they need. And often it's been like a signposting to help them. And because there's no two that are often the same. And I have done some work on that, on housing, certainly with Metropolitan as it was a few years ago. So I believe that that has served a useful purpose. So we look at this now, and we've made sure that they, rough sleepers, whatever you call them, outdoor sleepers, have had the support. The PSPO was there to help multi-agency as well, in a group that was formed, and give help individually to channel them to support the networks. So this has already happened. There is now a multi-agency group that has been formed, and they give help to individuals as well as to numbers as well. The Community Scrutiny Group has looked at this both in the past, when it was first looked at, and recently. Both times they were endorsed by the Scrutiny Group. There may have been differences of opinion, but the overall general feeling was, and the vote was, that this would go ahead. So therefore I propose a recommendation that the PSPOs, or the Public Spaces Protection Order Review, I feel that the recommendation that the Public Space Protection Order to control street drinking and outdoor sleeping in the areas set out in Appendix 1 and 2 be approved. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to support the recommendation and second it and reserve the right to speak.
Councillor Gray?
Councillor Bansal will give our response on this.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points I'd like to make, please. Number one, rough sleeping has doubled since 2010. We've seen more and more homeless people dying. In fact, it's risen by 50% in the past 5 years. 726 people last year alone. Our concern with the PSPO is that 36% of local authorities use the PSPO specifically against rough sleepers, despite guidance not to. I don't think we should be criminalising rough sleepers. A lot of the time it's not their fault. What we require is further education, further support, work with local charities like the Friary and various others. The concern is the problem might get further, develop further, and we're not getting to the root cause. Sometimes there's mental health issues, other problems, etc. So once we appreciate there's a lot of great work that's happening and where the PSPO is being used in certain areas, we just want to be targeting homeless people and rough sleepers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Councillor Howitt?
Councillor Jones.
Oh.
Councillor Jones.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I've missed one.
Councillor Jones.
All right, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll be supporting the recommendations and the areas proposed in the report. It is important that rough sleepers are treated with the guidance, if possible, that Councillor Mason's referred to. I do think that the police aren't always aware of the public space protection orders because from experience in our ward we've had kids with tents partying in parks, and when residents have contacted the police have said it's none of our business. So I do think there's an issue of communication with the police when it's weekends and out of hours, and the same applies in Sharphill Wood. Sorry, I was just going to also explain that Councillor Hewitt had been stuck in the traffic and he was going to be late. But yeah, we'll be supporting the recommendations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right, thank you very much. Councillor Mallender.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was happily tapping this on things, but maybe we haven't reached the stage of using the look cards yet. Yes, I expressed reservations when we looked at this in the scrutiny group, and I think
There we go. Thank you. The independent councillors support the recommendation to approve the Public Spaces Protection Order. We are of the view, however, that measures to support the individuals concerned are much more important than punishment. There's no point telling people that they can't sleep rough if they have nowhere else to sleep, or fining them for urinating on the street when there is no alternative. We note the importance of support is recognised in paragraph 4.7 of the report and has been highlighted just now by Councillor Mason. But we urge that performance indicators be developed to measure the support offered and its effectiveness alongside the existing indicators such as the number of warning notices issued, which only measure enforcement activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As already said, it's come through the Community Scrutiny Group already earlier this year, and I think what was really important was that quite a lot of new councillors who were on the committee, who just joined the council, actually said to me privately, they didn't actually understand what this order was before the meeting, because when it was first introduced, unfortunately, some of the national and local media got the, should we say, the wrong end of the stick, and went out there that we were going to determined to go out there and fine everyone for rough sleeping, which of course isn't the case. And actually, through the in-depth briefings we have from the officers, I think it really came across clearly that that isn't the case, and we really want to work with local partners and the police especially to avoid getting to the stage of fining. It's important that we have an order in place that the police can use. If I use an example from my own ward, on the play park in Gamston, the parents came along with their kids to use it, and unfortunately a homeless person was there who had put all his clothes up on the trees, and so people felt it wasn't safe to go and take their children to the park. So the police were able to use the order to help move the person along, move the man along. They used the Friary and the local support in place to help him. But without that order in place, it would be much difficult for the police, and potentially would have criminalised him a lot earlier. Then, of course, we are getting a criminal record. So I think it's important to place that on record. And what I think really, really is important is that we actually put as much communication as possible to tell people that the ultimate aim, like I say, is not to get to the point of criminalising people. It's there to help. And actually, this order in place, as seen by the testimony from the police and local partners, really can help towards that goal.
So sure you are.
Right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, it has been useful, and the police have found it useful, because no enforcements have been served on people who are sleeping rough. Right, get that straight. What it is about is to stop in those areas of West Bridgeford and Rushcliffe people vomiting, urinating and defecating in public areas, which none of us want. That isn't totally rough sleepers, and they probably don't. Littering, another one. Violence, aggressive or intimidating behaviour is not acceptable either in Rushcliffe, and criminal damage. And that is what has really been important in the last few years, that it's given tools to the police and to our officers to actually bring something about. And so I am still very happy to support this. I think it has also helped to focus attention and resources, and we're all very concerned about resources, on particular areas that have known problems in West Bridgeford. It shows the areas that are sometimes difficult and sometimes challenging, and some areas that you may not think should be, but are. The consultation was launched 20th of August to the 20th of September, and 17 supported it, 1 was neutral and 7 was against it. But I think it has to be understood that this is not a rigid thing. We have to look at it and deal with it as challenges arrive with different people. So we've had also support from Nottinghamshire County Council, and they support the renewal. And when used sensibly and proportionately, the PSPO provisions offer useful additional tools to partners to deal with issues occurring within this restricted zone. And also the police and the Crime Commissioner also support it. And from a police perspective, they are supportive because the renewal, especially, as we see it as a valuable tool to deal with prescribed types of antisocial behaviour. So this is what it's really about, is the antisocial behaviour, and therefore I support the recommendation proposed. Thank you.
I must ask you to show if you are in favour. Would you show in the usual way, please? Somebody counting? Are you agreed?
Yeah.
Those who are against this, please show in the usual way. 7. Right. Are there any abstentions? None.
So it's carried.
I have to announce that this has been carried. Thank you. We now can turn to item 9, Upper Broughton Neighbourhood Plan. May I call upon Councillor Upton to move this?
Thank you. Neighbourhood planning was introduced by the Localism Act 2011. It's recognised by the National Planning Policy Framework. Neighbourhood plans are documents which give local people real powers to shape the future of their community. They contain policies written by the community for the community. If a neighbourhood plan is made part of our local development plan, then planning applications within the area should be determined in accordance with both the Rushcliffe local plan and the relevant neighbourhood plan, unless the material considerations indicate otherwise. So to date there are 3 approved neighbourhood plans in Rushcliffe, Eastleigh, Radcliffe-on-Trent and Keyworth. This Upper Broughton neighbourhood plan has been promoted by the Upper Broughton Parish Council for the designated area of the Upper Broughton Parish. It's been publicised, consulted on, examined by an independent examiner, and the Cabinet has agreed that it should be put to referendum early next year. The format of the referendum is set out in items 4.4 and 4.5 of the report. Essentially, if more than 50% of those voting vote yes, then the Borough Council is required to adopt the plan. If the result is no, then nothing further happens and the Parish Council will then have to decide what it wants to do. This report is asking full council that, subject to a majority yes vote at the referendum, the Borough Council should make or adopt the Upper Broughton Neighbourhood Plan. I therefore move the recommendation set out on item 2 of the report, namely, it's recommended that, subject to a majority vote on the referendum, A, the Council makes or adopts the Neighbourhood Plan, and B, authority be delegated to the Executive Manager Communities to issue a statement setting out this decision as soon as possible following the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Cumberland, can you you need to log in with your card on the, that's it.
Card.
Oh. Right, getting there. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Upper Broughton is a parish in my ward, and they have worked very hard on their neighbourhood plan and produced a very supportive document which has been well received by the parishioners. I'm a great exponent of neighbourhood plans, as they give the local residents an opportunity to have their say in the future of their community, how they would like the neighbourhood to develop, how they can meet the demands of a growing population and address local housing needs, protect the environment and local heritage assets. It is therefore with pleasure that I second this item and look forward to the referendum result. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
We would like to commend also the people involved in putting together the Upper Broughton Neighbourhood Plan, and I'd like to say we thoroughly recommend, well, we support the recommendation.
I'm sorry.
This is Councillor Howard speaking. Oh, yeah. It's all right, no offence. Yeah, I mean, who is it for us really to do other than approve this? Because this is a neighbourhood that many of us don't represent or know, and we fully support the recommendations.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, also happy to support this recommendation.
Yes, thank you. We would like to support the recommendation also, and we congratulate everybody involved for getting the plan to this stage. Thank you.
Anyone else like to join in on this? Or any further discussion from anyone? I think they use the phrase, speak now or forever hold thy peace, but I don't go along with that. Anyone else? Right. Can I come back to you, Councillor Upton?
Yes, you may, Madam Mayor. I don't think there's a great deal I want to add to that. You know, I'm a great exponent of neighbourhood planning, having chaired the Radcliffe one for 3 years of my life, and very enjoyable that was too. I'm sure this won't be the last time I stand here talking about neighbourhood plans. Indeed, I hope it won't be. I know there are many more in the pipeline, and I wish them well and look forward to them being brought to this full council or cabinet. Thank you.
Well, thank all of you. Would you show in the usual way if you approve this? Looks like everyone. Anyone against? It has been carried. Thank you for... Oh. Yes.
No, just didn't put his hand down.
Actually, it was a friendly greeting. Right.
No, sorry. No.
Yes. Okay. Right. So is it carried? Yes. So that's carried. Thank you very much. Right, now we get to item 12, notices of motion. But none, oh, sorry, no. I can assure you I've not been at the bottle, it's just that I'm a bit tired. Right, temporary co-option to parish councils. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just a small and fairly straightforward recommendation here, although I must say it does have very significant implications for our parishes, and it's really important, I think, there's a strong message from this borough that we do support the parishes right across the actual borough itself and absolutely ensure that they do operate, because this really is the first line of democracy. The case in the paper that you see there is highlighted is actually Widmerpool, where my colleague there, Councillor Edovin, actually stepped in to make sure that that committee, that parish could actually run and operate his business. If you look at item 3.5, it then talks about really adopting this procedure across the borough. And again, as I stressed, this is about making sure that all our parishes do operate, they do fulfil their statutory duties. And as I say that, I'm very pleased that this authority certainly will support our parishes, and they do an excellent job, and we recognise that. So I'd just like to move then, Madam Mayor, on page 65, section 2, items A and B. Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second the recommendation and reserve the right to speak.
We would like to support the recommendation, and I also would like to commend the sentiment of Councillor Robertson that the parishes are the first line of democracy. They are very important.
Yeah, parishes are very much the first line of democracy, and I look forward to the day when we can be co-opted onto West Bridgeford Town Council. I've just got one question about this. Obviously, we support it because it's a way of ensuring that they're quorate. But I just wonder what the process is for informing residents that their parish council is not quorate and that it needs more members. But other than that, we support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But I'm also happy to support the proposal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pass over to Councillor Way, who's speaking on this item for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The independent councillors support the proposed procedure and note the action taken for Widmerpool. We request that all parish councils be specifically informed of the procedure adopted, and we ask that this is coupled with action to identify other parish councils having difficulty recruiting and those at risk of becoming inquorate. We also ask that measures be taken to encourage residents to stand as parish councillors, and this really needs to be ongoing rather than happening immediately before an election when it can become politicised. Thank you.
Somebody else wants to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just suggest, perhaps, on the point that was just made by Councillor Way, that something be done, perhaps using the parish forum, to look at publicity for encouraging people to stand for parish councils, because there are many that either didn't have an election or are struggling to keep attendance up once people have been appointed or elected. And therefore, I think if there's something that perhaps could be considered in terms of publicity and encouraging local people to stand and doing more to perhaps promote the good work that parish councils do, to encourage people to join, to stand for election and to take part. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I can actually answer Councillor Jones's question because I've got direct experience of it. And the procedure for publicising lack of councillors is for the clerk to advertise vacancies, and then following that, and I'm also chair of my own village, Willoughby-on-the-Wolds Parish Council. So if we have vacancies, we advertise them, we try and encourage people in the community to put their names forward, and if no one actually comes forward within the advertised period where you would hold an election, then we co-opt them, basically. So.
I don't know how far that is broadcast to the general population. That was the question.
Without getting into ping pong, it's put on parish notice boards and it's put on the parish website, and yeah, that is how it's done.
And so we'll now move on to the next item, which is in fact questions under Standing Order number 11. Right. Who is presenting this? Councillor Shaw, would you like to put your question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What is being done to progress the Gamston-Tollerton strategic site in the required timescale, in particular to provide access given the location of the land that Nottinghamshire County Council owns but is not releasing?
This site was proposed by all its landowners, and work continues with many stakeholders, including Highways England, to try and progress all, or if necessary, part of this large housing site to planning application stage as soon as is reasonably practicable. But often with large sites such as this, there can be many challenges and issues to resolve, and these can take time. However, this council has now a dedicated large sites officer who is tasked with progressing this site as a matter of urgency, and we remain optimistic that we will soon see significant progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A brief one. If the Notts County Council land is not released, what further urban edge land will be allocated to ensure the 5-year housing land supply is sustained?
I don't want to speculate on those lines. I remain optimistic that the whole site will be, if you like, master planned and brought brought us one large strategic site, because that is the best way forward. I can assure you, rest assured, that negotiations are in hand, but as I said earlier, these are rather complicated on these large sites. They do take time, and in particular, as you mentioned in your question, highway access and highway design is a major part of the design work. So I'm not contemplating one or any of the landowners that, as I say, all of them expressed the wish to bring this site forward in around 2000, I believe. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the ambition we have. The 5-year housing supply you refer to, if you recall, the local plan part 2 has resolved that now for the foreseeable future. So that's why we brought the additional 25 preferred housing sites to full council and had that approved with the local plan part 2.
We now go to question B. Councillor Way, would you like to put your question, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What will be the impact of Nottinghamshire County Council's decision to stop participating in the Rushcliffe Growth Boards?
Councillor Robinson.
The growth boards have and continue to make a very, very positive contribution right across this borough, and one is to look at the likes of Cottgrave and the town centre. And we're very confident going forward in terms of our structures and resources, those growth boards will make a very, very visible, as I say, very tangible difference. We continue to have dialogue with the County Council outside of the growth boards, and in fact there are 2 officers from the County Council in this very room tomorrow, all day at the Developers Forum.
Councillor Way, do you have a supplementary question?
I tend to break technology. Is there anything that people, councillors who are on both councils, the Rushcliffe and the County Council, can do to help repair what appears to be a broken relationship between the 2 councils?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with your assumption we have a broken relationship. We have a relationship that we work together on Development Corporation, the LEP and many, many other activities. We've talked recently about the floods, and in terms of the cooperation goes on there, we will continue to work with the County Council across all spheres right across this borough.
We now come to question C. Councillor Jones.
Will the implication sections of reports to councillors have the additional heading of climate emergency and environmental implications, and when will this occur?
Thank you. Councillor Mason.
Thank you. Following the adoption of the environment as a 4th corporate priority, this additional heading will be and has been included for consideration along with other council priorities on council reports from December onwards, and I believe we're in December now, and so it's there. Thank you.
Councillor Jones, do you have a supplementary question?
A section in the reports as per equality and the like.
Mason.
It's finished.
Oh, it's finished. Okay. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Right. We're now up to D. Councillor Mallender.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given the considerable work involved, what human and other resources will be put in place to update the Council's climate change policy by March 2020?
Councillor Mason.
Thank you. The Council has actually formed an internal corporate working group already to explore the feasibility of the Council setting a net zero carbon target for 2030. The group are due to share a draft action plan with the Communities Scrutiny Group ahead of a report to Cabinet in March 2020. Ultimately, the Council's budget approved by full Council resources the Council's corporate strategy and associated objectives.
Councillor Mallender, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, as it's the season of goodwill, I think I shall spare Councillor Mason on this occasion. Thank you.
Councillor Mason, any other comment? Right. Well, that concludes the business for this evening. Thank you all very much for attending and taking part. And I'd be delighted if you'd join me for a festive bite before you go home. And you'll find my room at the end of the corridor. Thank you very much.